Bonjour. Today we want to talk about something that is very interesting, something that would be useful for you um, as you talk about yourself and giving your contacts. And this is about les adresses mail. Les adresses mail, what you may say or you may call email addresses. How do you read out your email addresses? For example, we have email address here, vitalis@gmail.com, pierrepaul@yahoo.com, Were Otieno, let me just remove the underline here so that we see what is beneath it. I'll also do the same for this. Okay, were_otieno@hotmail.com. So we should be able to read our email addresses. If somebody asks you, quelle est votre adresse email? Somebody asks you that, quelle est votre adresse email? What is your email address? Then how will you spell it out for the person to read or to write? So some of the symbols that are used in email addresses include the following. Here we have a hyphen, this one here. A hyphen in French is tiret, tiret. A slash, this one here is basically the same as it is in English. So it is slash, slash. Then we have a period, or what we call a point, or a full stop for that matter. But when it's used in an email, you don't say full stop, it's a period. So, or a point. In French, we read this as point, point, or a dot. Actually, it's a dot in English. Dot, point. A colon, which is two dots. In French, we read that as deux points. Deux points means like 2 points. A question mark in French is point d'interrogation. Point d'interrogation is interrogation point, we may call it that. Point d'interrogation. And then let me just add here d'interrogation. Okay. Then we have in English we'd also call it parentheses. Brackets, sorry. Yes, brackets. So in brackets, French would call that parenthèse. Parenthèse. Then we have underscore, this lower one, underscore. In French, you call that tiré bas. Tiré bas. Then you have a comma, which in French is virgule. Virgule. And then you have exclamation mark, which in French is point d'exclamation. Point d'exclamation. Then you have at, which in French is arrobase. Arrobase. Then you have a semicolon, which is point virgule. Point virgule. So let's read these three emails in French. So you'd say, mon adresse email c'est, my email address is Vitalis, and you can also spell your name if you want because we have done the alphabet, arrobase gmail.com. Pierre-Paul @yahoo.com. Were-bas Otieno @hotmail.com. So I'm sure you are now able to spell your email address. On that note, let's just quickly look at a verb here, habiter. Verb habiter. Habiter is to stay somewhere. To stay somewhere. So how do you conjugate it? J'habite. In this case, it's a verb that is ending with er, and sometimes many of verbs that end with er, you can basically just remove the r for a bit, for je, and then once you remove the r, you add s for tu, and then it remains without the r for il or l, and for nous, you now remove the e plus the r and replace with ons. Then for vous, you replace the to with EZ. And for this third person plural, you replace with ENT. So many of the verbs that end with ER would have this kind of form of conjugation. But it's not all of them because there are exceptions. So in an example, or maybe let's read them fast. J'habite, tu habites, il habite, elle habite, nous habitons, vous habitez, ils habitent, elles habitent. So in an example, you'd say, J'habite à Nairobi. I stay in Nairobi. And it could mean I live in Nairobi, whatever. I stay in Nairobi. Elle habite à Kampala. She stays in Kampala. Il habite en France. He stays in France. Elle habite au Congo. She stays in Congo, lives in Congo. Now, this last example here, take note of it. When we are talking about names of towns, Nairobi, Kampala, Kinshasa, Paris, names of towns do not take any articles in front of them. So this a, which means at, just takes the name. So you just say a Nairobi, a Kampala. Remember when we did the list of countries, we talked about countries that were either masculine or feminine. For towns, they are neither masculine or feminine. So these are the few exceptions where a noun in French is neither masculine or feminine. You don't even imply. So it just goes like that. But now when you talk about the country, France is feminine. You don't say à France. For feminine countries, you say en. Il habite en France. And because Congo is masculine, you say au. Elle habite au Congo. Another example for a masculine name for a country is Kenya, for instance. You say Elle habite au Kenya, and so on and so forth. Thank you so much for today, and until the next class.